guys. Happy, I was gonna say Thursday, but it's not Thursday. I'm all mixed up this week. Because technically this live was supposed to be tomorrow, and I thought tomorrow was today. You just log on. And if you're jumping on, I'm Cara from Enchanted Vines. Thank you so much for popping by. I'd love to know where you're watching from. All right. Make sure that you can hear me and see me. Okay. All right, so I'm Cara from Enchanted Vines. Again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are going to be using a wreath kit from TMI Gifts, and it is patriotic themed. If you are a maker, you know we're always working on the next season. So as much as I love to work with spring designs and things for Easter and Mother's Day, sadly it's time to kind of start looking forward, which would be the summer months. So for me, I actually kind of leave my spring wreath also as my summer wreath. However, when those patriotic holidays come up, you know, we have 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Labor Day, I do love to put out a good patriotic wreath, okay? So for tonight, we are using, all of these items are from the TMI wreath kit. There are several kits still available, and they can be purchased for 20% off using promo code CARA20. So if you like these materials, then you can grab your own kit. All right, so to start, we're gonna work on our bow. Okay, so we have 3 really beautiful ribbons to work with, okay, because we're going for some sparkle. I don't know about you, but it's just nostalgic. When I was growing up, you know, we had the glow sticks and the glow necklaces, and everything was like glitter and sparkle. So I wanted to kind of draw that into this design. Hey, Tina, how are you? Tina in Savannah. I had my days so mixed up today. Hold on, I'm trying to... Hey, Donna, how are you? Donna, I want to know what name you landed on for your biz, because I'm like so intrigued by it. All right, so I figured we'd start with the bow. So I'm going to start with this 2.5-inch red glittery bow. I've been using these little map tacks from Target. They are like a godsend as far as like keeping your ribbon organized. So I highly recommend. Walmart has some too. They're not quite as effective. They are cuter. The Walmart ones are bigger, but not as effective. All right, so to start, we are going to use our Easy Bow Maker. I'm gonna have my scissors ready. I am going to have a zip tie ready, and I'm gonna be ready. So I'm going to start by putting the ribbon through the dowel, and I'm going to leave this at maybe like 18 inches. All right, and we're going to start with some 6-inch loops. Okay, I wish I had my ribbon wrangler. Marion, forgive me. I should have grabbed it. All right, so I am going to, so as I slide this through the Easy Bow Maker. All right, we always want to have the pretty side of the ribbon facing down when we're starting the loop, and then when we're making the loop, we want to have the pretty side up. All right, and I like to always just push down on that first loop just to make sure it's right at that 6-inch mark. Accuracy and measuring are not my strong suit, so I like to try and do it right the first time, and then I can just kind of keep repeating those loops. So let's see, 6-inch loops. And once you've done it right, you're just going to continue to just overlap. And as you're putting it through your Easy Bow Maker, through the dowels, always give it a crisp twist. And the reason why I say that is because if that center part isn't nice and like tightly kind of sealed off, the loops are, they're just a little bit sloppy and they're not quite as, you know, bubbly as they should be. And we want them to be nice springy loops, not kind of all like half one side, half another side. Brim and Bloom. All right. We have a very, very talented maker who is dabbling in the derby, or she does dabble in the derby, and she makes some phenomenal derby hats. And Donna, what are they called? Because I feel like there's an interesting name for derby hats. But, I mean, we need more reasons to wear big, big, beautiful hats like that. Brim and Bloom is perfect because you've got the florals, the brim of the hat. I just love it. I love the imagery of that. And aside from the Kentucky Derby, are there other times of year where people get all decked out like that? There's a reality show on right now, and I don't know if it's on Netflix. I literally only watch it because there's this guy who's like, he goes in the tanning bed way too much, and it's just, I don't know what it is, but he owns horses, and I just find him to be fascinating. So, less about the horses and more about that guy's skincare regimen. All right, so I'm making 6 inch loops. Not cinch, that was rough. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure my tails are about even, and I'm gonna snip. All right, and next we are going in with this ribbon that I absolutely love. I love anything that has that like pure red, white, and blue. It just jumps off your door. All right, so I want to make an extra set of tails. So what I'm going to do, this has a little bit of sparkle to it as well. I'm just going to make one extra set of tails. So I'm going to cut this. It's probably about 28 inches-ish. Okay, and just to have an extra tail, all you're going to do is you're going to slide it back through the dowels and just make sure that the front side of the ribbon is showing. All right, this is really the star of the show, so I want a lot of this material showing. All right, so now I'm going to go in with a tail that's a little bit smaller, so let's say around like 14 inches, and we're starting everything the same way. So I'm starting on this side, I'm starting with my tail, and then as I go through the dowel, I take my ribbon and I make sure that the pretty side, the front side, is facing down. Okay, and I give it a little push just to make sure it's, again, like we want that middle part to be like nice and snug and cinched. So now I'm going to measure 5 inches. All right, and we're going to make, let's do 4 of these. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Tina, you know what I would love to learn is how you take the grapevines. I believe, well, I don't know how to do it, so I can't really believe, but I'm guessing. So when you take a grapevine for your arrangements and you like string them out so that they're not a wreath, they're just like branches and stems. I would love to know how you do that. Because I buy artificial twigs, but I'm like, I feel like there's, you know, cases and cases of grapevines around me, and I would like to use that because it looks so cool and so natural. We need some member tutorials here. We need some of our amazing members posting some videos of all of your talents. All right, so I said 4, but I'm going to do 6 of these loops. Because, yeah, Tina, you had one that was just so stunning. I feel like you did it around the fall. That could be a bold-faced lie. I don't know. All right. So now I have 6 of the 5-inch loops. And what is everybody doing, like designing right now? Right now, I'm filling spring orders. I'm not necessarily making anything new for spring, you know, again, I feel like time kind of starts to go by quick and people already have their entryways decorated. So I'm trying to slow down on making the spring and start to think ahead with our summer, with our, you know, citrus and those vibrant colors, things like that. All right, so now we're going to take this very electric, I think it's probably a 1-inch, 7/8 of an inch blue metallic. And I'm going to make a set of tails again. So I'm just going to string this through. And what are we saying? 16-ish inches. All right, and then I'm going to feed it through again. And hey, Helen. Let's see. 12:10 at night. Oh, you're a night owl. I love it. You just had VE weekend. VE. Tell me what that is, Helen. I feel like ignorant because I'm guessing I should know. All right, I'm just gonna make 2 loops here. So I'm gonna make one at the 5-inch. Put this through and make another 5-inch loop. I am such a night owl, and I don't know what it is, but no matter how tired I am, it's like when everyone goes to bed and like the house is clean and like I can watch The Real Housewives and have a glass of wine, I just don't want to go to bed. And like I'm up till midnight. Sometimes I even end up vacuuming at like 11 and then I settle in because everything's like perfect. All right, so Donna's saying there are places these hats can be worn for church, weddings. Where's the Derby? Oh, the Derby, Greatness and Belmont. So Greatness and Belmont are 2 other races, right? If I understand from my deep research on reality TV. And let's see. I'm just gonna make 1 button. So I'm just gonna put my tail in here. And I'm not gonna measure it. It's probably gonna be about like 3 inches. Okay. And snip. Yes, I find the Derby to be fascinating. I didn't know anything about the horses, so the two that I was rooting for was one was Owen Almighty and then Chunk of Gold. But it's, you know, it's almost like the version of Girl Math. I just did it based on the names, so I know that a different horse won. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna spread out these loops just so everywhere we look, basically on our bow, we're catching a piece of that fabric. Yeah, I mean, I'm destined to move to the South. I've been having these conversations. I want to be able to say y'all. Sometimes I do say y'all, and my husband is like, "Who are you talking to?" And I pretty much Ashley from 3 Little Greenwoods is the worst influence on me. Or if I say bless her heart, she's a bad influence. We don't say y'all here in New Hampshire. It's live free or die, but it's not y'all. All right, so as I'm taking this off the dowel, I'm just gonna have my zip tie ready. And what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna use my thumb and my pointer finger, and I wanna make sure I have a real nice tight hold on this so that the loops don't come undone. If you should start lifting this off the dowel and you feel like you're starting to kind of lose control over it, just put it back on the dowel and just, you know, again, make sure that all of your ribbons are nicely twisted. So, slipping this in, and you can also use a chenille stem. You can use floral wire. I like to use the zip ties just because I feel like there's so much fabric in here to hold that I want the tension to be nice and tight, like a family holiday. Let's see. Donna is a night owl because you're a retired nurse for 25 years and your husband still works nights. Yeah, being a nurse seems so incredibly demanding. Like, I'm sure it's such a rewarding job. I mean, people love nurses, but you just, the shifts are just so long, and you're just giving so much. Not that there's anything wrong with doctors. I'm not throwing any shade, but typically, like for me, I'm more comfortable asking a nurse for something versus a doctor. I just feel like it's a little bit more approachable. So sorry. I don't think there's any doctors watching this, but if you are, I mean you no disrespect. All right, let's see. Hey, Verlene, how are you? Well, that's nice. You stay on his schedule. It is true. When I worked in like our nonprofit world where there were group homes, you know, we had people who obviously worked overnight to supervise, you know, the programs. And it is hard if you have a spouse that's working opposite hours because, you know, you're working to enjoy your life. And it's kind of hard to do if you can't do that with your partner. So, and Donna, you always speak of your husband so fondly. So I know he's just a good one. You got a good one. All right, so before we fluff, I am just gonna go through, I'm just gonna polish off the tails. So for the 2.5-inch ribbons, I'm just gonna fold them in half and I'm gonna dovetail them. So what I'm doing is I'm just folding it in half and then I'm cutting up towards the fold. Okay, for the 7/8, I just like to give it a diagonal cut. All right, and so I'm just gonna go through and polish that off. So for years past, like when I first was married and Mother's Day would come around, my husband was like, it's a Hallmark holiday, I don't celebrate it, you know, you're not my mom, you're the mother of my kids, because I was stepmom to his kids, I'm not doing anything. And so it was like a battle because I was just so bummed out, like that, you know, you can't just like suck it up and celebrate Mother's Day for me and just do the things so I don't have to do them. So over the years, he has become great about Mother's Day. And so a few weeks ago, he said, you know, Sunday is Mother's Day. This would be April 27th. He said, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? Da, da, da. I said, it's not Mother's Day. It's not May. And he says, all right, yeah, right. What do you want to do? So I was like, you know, I debated. And then I was like, you know what, though? I did tell him the truth. So I said, you know, I'd like to get the patio furniture assembled. You know, I'd like to maybe get some grilling going. So was it last Sunday, I think? Or Sunday before, we celebrated Mother's Day. And he's like, why isn't my daughter, who's 21, and this girl has been, like, spoiling me since she was, like, 4 and would bring me water and raw Pop-Tarts. Like, she's always been so good. She'd give me breakfast in bed every year. So he's like, why isn't she celebrating? Like, why isn't she doing anything for you? I'm like, you know what? Kids nowadays, they're just so inconsiderate. So anyways, I had a great day. And then the next day, he walked into work, saw his female coworker, and said, hey, how was your Mother's Day? And she's like, what are you talking about? Mother's Day is not for a few weeks. So he was not happy, or he was not amused. And so he called, and he's like, oh, you're such a jerk. And I'm like, I hope this isn't going to interfere with my birthday tomorrow. Which my birthday's October, so just trying to see how far I could get with this whole thing. All right, so this bow is definitely going to get smooshed as we go, but just to see how pretty and festive she is. All right, let's just give her a nice fluff. I just can't help it. I need to know just how beautiful she is. Hey, Diane, how are you? I'm excited for this one too. I am a little afraid because of the flower. It's almost like Voldemort. The flower that I cannot pronounce is in this kit, and I kept thinking I had it right, and I didn't. And I even tried to ask you know who, listening all the time, if she would pronounce it for me, and she wouldn't. So I'm again in the same situation. So I'm gonna say, because last time there were people conflicting on this, it sounds like alimony and enemy. It's anemone, it's something. So they are in this. those flowers are going to haunt me. The more it comes up, the more I feel like I barely ever use those flowers, and since I cannot pronounce them, they're just popping up left and right. All right, so this is our bow. What are we thinking? Honestly, this would be perfect just on a mailbox alone, or if you had, you know, just something outdoor. I'm trying to think, like, even if you had like an everyday wreath that you wanted to put it on. It's kind of big for a lantern, but if you had like a big lantern, it'd be cool. Ooh, or even like your sconces outside. But to me, I think this is just such like classic Americana. I love it. Love it, love it. I'm just going to put it on a floral pick. I'm not going to use this yet just because I don't want to drip any glue on it. I don't know what it is. I'm having like messy glue issues lately. It's either my glue pot, I'm making it too hot and then it's too cool, or I'm just like putting way too much glue on and it's just getting everywhere. So a lot of fabric is forgiving and you can just kind of like let it dry and then like poke it off or like peel it off. But I don't really want to take the chance. So for now, I'm going to leave it off and just put it to the side. There you go. Hey, Diane. I'm loving the ribbon combo too. I mean, I love any of the, like I've been seeing people's work lately and it's, well, no, I always see people's work. But like those ribbons just jump out at you. And if, I mean, honestly, it's a great time of year to just sell the bows because, you know, people might have, you know, the everyday, the boxwood wreath or, you know, an all greenery wreath, but you can take that wreath, especially if it's times where people aren't necessarily spending money right now. It's either they're spending like nothing's phased, you know, anything, or they're just being conservative right now. And I feel like some of the more conservative buyers, they still want their space and their home to feel like refreshed and seasonal and all those things. So something on the smaller side, like a bow, I think those things are doing well right now, selling. All right, so this is a TMI Gifts, okay, 18-inch grapevine wreath. And I did see they are going to be offering these in bulk. I have to get more information because I have to tell you, I would say about a quarter of what I get from buying bulk in Michael's, I have been sending back. Not to mention that Michael's Pro Pack went from $54 to $74, like in a matter of weeks. It just, there was like no slow jump. It was just a big, big jump. So they went from being like $3.50 a wreath to now $5 a wreath. Big jump. And those are made in the US, like it has on the outside, which I never really noticed. It does, my daughter must be home because I hear a stampede of dogs upstairs. Yes, I never realized before, but on that box when you buy the Michael's Pro, it actually says where they're from. And those are in the US, so I don't quite understand why there's such a huge like price hike, why it just seems very dramatic to me. All right, so I'm just taking a piece of grapevine wire. I'm just marking with a bow. This is just kind of my North Star. You know, there are just certain habits that I have. It's part of just how I like to design. And that's just one of the things that it just helps me in case I kind of start to feel off balance. I know exactly where it's supposed to be. And sometimes if my design really goes awry, it's okay to just move your hook. But I like to try and adhere to the hook. And me, Donna, I will just say, and I don't disagree because I don't know, but I got the other day that it was nem. Ni. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm starting to resent this flower. It's beautiful. I first worked with it for a lovely, lovely couple's wedding. And I never bothered to learn how to pronounce it. Now it's all come back to haunt me. Donna, you've like done quite, those are like such different things. to go from designing, what is it, phones, telecommunication circuits for businesses. So there's another account I follow, and I think it's fascinating, and I can link it, because of course I can't remember the name right now, but her name's Nicole, and she actually has made the shift from being a surgeon to an interior designer, decorator. And she's incredibly talented, and it just shows that you don't have to stay on the same path. If your passion is bringing you somewhere else and it's bringing you joy, like it is for Nicole, then follow it. I mean, yes, you may have invested time and money doing one thing, but if your heart is pulling you towards something else and it's your talent, God doesn't give you gifts to not use them. That's just how I feel. And so, especially to be a surgeon, to, you know, going to home interior, they're just so different. And she's so good at it. So I'm really happy for her. It obviously was a change that she was meant to do. And it's really just a cool story. So she's also hysterical with doing like all those crazy home good finds. So we're going to start with our rustic bush. Okay, this is one of my favorite greeneries from TMI Gifts. It's very lifelike. It has little like seeds at the ends, but the greenery looks very real. And also for florists, when you're working with live greenery, a lot of the time it does get that sheen spray, so it almost looks waxy, which this does. So to me, this is a very like spot on natural looking greenery. So we're gonna lay out the foundation, or from my flower class this weekend, which I'll tell you about, it was described as architecture. So you use your greenery as your architecture, and you're gonna make basically the skeleton of your design. So I'm gonna start up top. Actually, I'm gonna slide this down a little bit, but our greenery is gonna be up top. So I always rely on muscle memory. When you work on muscle memory, it just reinforces how natural the flow is. So if you're on the newer side, or you're somebody that says like, geez, it takes me, you know, a few hours, or it takes me a few days, like there's nothing wrong with that. It is by far not a race, and it has to be a process that you enjoy. So if, you know, sometimes I make the videos of like, can I do this in 20 minutes? Like, that's where I'm at now. That's not where I was at 10 years ago. And it's not where anybody needs to be. It's just sometimes I think it's fun to challenge myself, but it's not, again, something that if you want to take your time and really like savor the process, then savor the process. Like it's yours to do however you see fit. All right, so I'm starting the top corners, and now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna give this a nice bend. So our materials do not break. So I'll go back to my class this week because, oh, my materials broke. So I went to, every year, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. They do this amazing, you know, exhibit for about 4 days, and it's called Art in Bloom. And what they do is they have, you know, usually like 50, 60 local garden clubs, florists, all of those, you know, all these fancy floral people come in and they do their own floral interpretation of a piece of art. So I've shared some of it on Instagram, I think on Facebook too. It's fascinating. But they also always have like one really amazing designer who offers a master class. And they're not cheap. It's a couple $100. It's a 2-hour experience, but like it is an experience. When you get to actually work with somebody who is just at such a high skill level and you have access to them when you're just one of 20 people, it's an amazing experience. If you are in the area, you've got to grab your tickets very quickly. They go very quick because there's just 2 master classes, so it's about 40 spots a year. So this year it was Sandra from Le Fleur, and Le Fleur is in Andover, Mass. I grew up in North Andover, so I have walked by it many times, and now I definitely am going to go in. But listening to how she's really invested in the designs and like the culture of her time spent in Paris. She was a professional figure skater when she was maybe like 18-ish. So she lived there for a few years and she just absolutely loved it. And so she came back and she wanted to adopt some of those things here, which And some of them are just very not much like our culture. So in France, I will give you some of the knowledge I learned because she wrote a really great book on it too. So in France, they don't use like all the glass vases like we do. They typically invest in just a few really special pieces, a few special vessels. And so what they do is they would take this vessel and bring it to the florist, and then you have a conversation of, this is going on my mantle, this is going for, I'm having a dinner where people are going to be sitting down, they need to see each other, you know, things like that. And so basically when you go in France, like there aren't a bunch of arrangements already made. They're waiting for you to come in and have that conversation. So she started her own florist in Andover called La Fleur, and it was modeled after La Fleur in Provence. That might not be right. Somewhere in France. She modeled it after it, and you know when she first started, you know it was not necessarily like understood, like, why are you asking me all these questions about what I'm doing with it? Like, why aren't there already arrangements made? All this stuff. And she basically has like recreated that culture here. And I think it's fascinating. So her book is amazing. We all got signed copies. So now I have an extra book. So I'm not going to give away my signed copy, but I think I'm going to give away the book that is not signed. I read it once. I wasn't eating or drinking. Like, I feel like I can pass it on to somebody because there's a lot of like really great information in it. But getting to design with her was just really, really fun because these folks, like, they're not snooty. They're not, you know, like, they're like us in a sense, like their passion just like oozes out. Like you can just tell from when they're talking about things, like the special memories connected to things, why they do things a certain way, how they imagine it. You know, like I've always said, even though I know I'm a more is more and I pack things tight sometimes, I do know from my days at Platinum Posies when I was 19, you are supposed to leave enough space so that a butterfly can fly through, you know, every bloom. And so they were saying, you know, it needs to be a bee. And I was like, yes, like a lot of the stuff, even though we work in the artificial floral world, our permanent botanicals, as beautiful as they are, you know, a lot of the same techniques still apply. So I thought that was really cool. All right, so I'm going to put my bow in. No, I'm going to put a little more greenery down. Okay, so we're going to use this boxwood, which I kind of snipped up. So this kit comes with 2 pieces. And this has also become one of my regular go-tos because I want to say these are like under $3 a stem. And you're getting a lot of greenery for that cost. And I like that it's 2-toned. I love the texture of it. I love the shape of the leaves. So this also is a great greenery if you're somebody who's looking just to, you know, sometimes we're looking to find some new greenery, or maybe the greenery that we're using, you know, if you're shopping at like a Hobby Lobby or something like that, sometimes it gets sold out, sometimes it goes away, and then you're left kind of searching again. So I do recommend this greenery, this boxwood and this ruscus. So I'm just going to fill in a little bit. Okay, I know my bow is going to end up right about here. So I'm going to repeat. Okay, I like to do everything mirrored. It just makes sure that the design is balanced, you know, that it's not super heavy on one side where it's not supposed to be. So even taking similar pieces, so like I just used a very heavy piece, so I want to make sure that I go and I use the same piece down below. All right, and then I'm going to put these 2 pieces aside for now. Okay, and then we've also got a third greenery. I like to use a minimum of 3 just because I think that it adds so much like textural like interest. You know, when I talk about, there's certain things that you look at and you're just like, you look at it, you process it really quickly and you kind of move on. And then there are things that you really kind of take a moment to look at. And especially at the museum, there were certain things that, like, there was one painting of this girl. I think she was holding a cat. I don't know what she was doing. But the surroundings around her were really dark. ish or burgundy, but then when I walked up really close to it, it was almost like black. And so then I kept going back and forth, like walking away, walking towards it. And I was like, yes, people probably think I'm a total whack job, but I'm sure that was the purpose. That's not like a mistake that painting looks different up close than it does from afar. It was so dramatic, and I just absolutely loved it. But yeah, I was definitely like blocking some guy who was trying to look at it, and I'm like, there's more than enough room. Just no, I'm just moving back and forth. All right, so I'm not gonna glue this quite yet, but I'm just gonna put this here. Dang, she big. Big and unapologetically so. All right. So what I like to do, just because, again, I've been like super glue happy, is I like to just take my tails at the very least and just tuck them under. Okay, just to protect them from the madness of me. So we're going to start with this blue bush. It is roses, zinnias, and lilies. There's a lot on here. I'm only going to use the ones that are like that true blue. So these are cobalt blue. So I'm going to snip off the roses. So yes, this is a kit where you're going to have extra. And actually, it also has some of these textural pieces. So I'm going to cut these off too because I like these. And so yeah, you're going to have some left over, and there's ribbon left over. So there could be a whole second design. It could be great for a lantern swag, or again, like something for your mailbox. And the value on this, I did save this sheet so I don't just like talk out of school, because the pricing on this, I was like super surprised because it comes in more than one color. The cost of this is, it's $12 before the discount, so I'm not going to do the math, but it's 20% off with the promo code. So you're going to get a lot of flowers here, and again, this comes in other colors. I can't remember what those colors are, but I do believe there was other options for this. So you're getting a lot for this. Especially, we're in that weird tariff place where, you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to go too far in one direction. I feel like if you see a deal, take the deal, but don't go, too far, and don't bank on something that's could be just trending and, it's popular right now, but it might not be in a few months. So I would stick with staples, whether it's the greenery that you love and you're going to use, whether it's cabbage roses or hydrangea. Like, there's just certain things that you always seem to use. So those to me feel like safe bets, but something trendy like, let's see. Am I going to say cherry blossoms? I don't know. Oh, okay. I would say I have these mixed. Oh, they're little baby zinnias. They're mixed from Pioneer, and they're beautiful, but I just bought a few because I don't think, they're not a year-round thing that I'm going to use. They're beautiful for summer and wildflowers, but that's not a staple. That's not something that's going to look right in the fall, so I just bought a few. All right, so we are going to start with our blue roses. And I know typically I like to start with the largest head first. So I guess I still am. All right. Because I was going to say, in the center of the Gerber daisies, there's a pop of yellow. And I want to just try and see if we can keep that out of our color scheme a bit. So I'm going to start top corner like I do. And I'm going to give this head a little bend. Okay. That is how flowers grow in nature. And can I tell you, that came up in the masterclass about the messiness of natural gardening, and I was like, yes, I knew that. And also talking about how important it is to just enjoy it, and she said, you know, not everything she does is perfect. It's not about that. It's not meant to be about that. It's about a feeling. It's about the satisfaction that you get. It's about the emotion that you put into things. And we don't ever want to lose sight of that. So not everything is going to be like the biggest hit ever, but that doesn't mean there isn't value in it. It doesn't mean you're not laying foundation for something else. And it also doesn't mean that not going to have a buyer that also, you know, gets the emotion behind it. We're not in this to do something that we dread every day. We're in this to do something that we love. All right, so again, just mirroring as we go. And let's just put one more up here. Let's just have this kind of pointing sideways, and then let's just repeat this below. Yep, so this weekend was amazing. This Thursday, I get to do more of an informal class, but it's at a winery, so it's like wine, flowers. Again, like anything that like nourishes your soul and reinforces what you love to do. I think it's just such a great use of time. That class at MFA was 2 hours, and can I tell you, it went by in like the blink of an eye. Like before I went in, I was like nervous, and all of a sudden, as soon as I got in there, I was like so captivated with everything that she was saying, and you know, one of her other florists were there. You know, it just, I totally forgot about anything like, again, being nervous. You know, time just flew by. It's just a reinforcement that that's something that I love so much. Yes, so Morgan from La Flor, if you're watching, she definitely was super, super helpful. And I'm going to visit you at your florist. All right, so I'm just cutting these up. And actually, we might not even be using all of these. There might be enough florals here that you could do something more like a full wreath. Even cottagecore. Okay, so starting with our larger blooms. So like I said, the center of these has the yellow, which it's beautiful, but I feel like for this, if I can kind of like keep it more just the red, that is my goal. So I'm going to start up top corner, and I cut that one kind of short. And for this, I'm not going to bend the head. Okay, and again, there's nothing wrong with it having that. That's the more botanically correct version of it. But I just don't want to detract from like this red, white, and blue combo that we have going on. You always want to take your materials and manipulate them however you see fit, which also came up in the class. But can I tell you how many things I broke? I broke so many stems. I cut things too short. It didn't matter because I was having fun. But I will say, I was like, oh, I'm so used to like manhandling artificial florals and like bending them to my will that, yeah, I was a little bit rough with the materials. And then I came home and I took everything out like the next morning because I had such a good time, and I was like, oh, I want to kind of like really apply now what I've learned, but I think I made it worse, but I still enjoyed it. All right, so we're gonna just repeat. Actually, this guy would do better over here, so. Yeah, do you guys have things that like reinforce all of your passions? Because I would love to hear about it. Like in North Andover, we have the Stephen Coolidge house, which has just like these phenomenal gardens. You know, teenagers used to play hide and go seek, very, you know, very mischievous in them. However, as adults, I appreciate it a lot. And, you know, a lot of wedding photos are taken there. They just take a lot of care. They also own the Crane Castle. which also is just stunning. All right. So again, I'm using the red. I'm just trying to detract a bit from the yellow center. And it's still serving its purpose. Now we're going to go in with our white. And I'm looking at the screen because I want to say it right. So, anemone, these things, they're beautiful. I wish I could say their name. Alimony, anemone, I don't know. But we are using these for our white, and we have some other filler that is also going to reinforce the white contrast for this design. And these are our smallest blooms out of the 3 bushes that we're using. So when we're working, I kind of consider this a pattern. So as you can see where the blank spots are, it's just giving us direction on where we need to go next. So our blue laid out the next step for our red, and now it's left us with even more specific spots that we're going to put in our white florals. So I'm going to start top corner. Because these are smaller, we're going to use a bit more of them. All right, so we've got one. And I'm just alternating between pointing out and pointing in. I'm going to go back out. Go back in. All right, now we're going to repeat down below. I can see I dropped glue, so I'm glad that I snuck those tails in. All right, so starting here, I want to replicate balance. I'm going to slide this right up here. And even though she's not going to show much, it just keeps that balance. And again, even though the tails are most likely going to be covering a lot of this, it's important for when the tails aren't, that we have everything underneath should still look beautiful. You don't want to have it like completely bare under your bow. Bows can move, people could switch them out. So as a design in general, it has to be complete. One going down and one going up. Space for the butterflies, right? All right, so we still have some florals left over. I'm going to put these to the side for now. When I'm designing this kit, I always want to make sure that I don't fall short on what we need. This kit, I do think you could absolutely do a complete wreath, complete like cottagecore, cottage style wreath, because we have a lot of materials still to go. Or you could just make 2 crescent wreaths. 2 listings on Etsy if you're doing Etsy. And by the way, I'm gonna post this somewhere, Facebook maybe, and I'll try and remember to post it on YouTube. But there is going to be an SEO expert panel again. They did this a few months ago where they have, again, a panel of SEO experts. And what they do is they pick 5 listings. So if you're on Etsy, 1, you can submit one of your listings. But 2, even if they don't choose your listing, the feedback is very much transferable to any shop. So last time I thought it was really interesting that, you know, I was always taught, make sure you have 10 pictures. So if some of your photos are repetitive, that's okay because at least you have 10. Well, this panel wanted to see, you know, a picture of the maker, a picture of where they're working, a picture of what it looks like boxed up. And so that was feedback that I'd never heard before. So we obviously want to get our feedback from the source. They are the ones controlling the algorithm or, you know, contributing to it. What I think is super cool is our girl, Lauren Kilgore, which I'm sure a lot of you know, she is going to be on the panel. And I just found that out today and I haven't even had a chance to congratulate her because I think that's awesome. Etsy had her at their headquarters in the fall. And Lauren is just, she's just so smart. She's talented, she's smart, and she is great at doing Etsy shop reviews. You can even pay her to actually create your own Etsy shop, which I think is like, I mean, if you could just have if you could just pay somebody to just do the whole thing, I don't know, that seems like a ton of work, but she offers a variety of services. So that is coming up, I want to say May 15th. So I would recommend get your listing in, but even if it doesn't get picked, absolutely watch it. Last time I did submit, but they put in a rug, a pasta tool, like random things, and that's okay. Like all the feedback still applied to what I do. So it's worth just giving it a shot. They also were very, they also had a lot of feedback around not repeating words. So not even repeating them once. So again, to me, I would write spring wreath, outdoor wreath, da-da-da. And they don't want to see the same word twice. They want to see something saying, you know, gnocchi shaper, pasta tool. Like, you know, you have to find other words. So you can use things like ChatGPT to help with those things. Or you can just take, you know, a piece of paper. This tip is from Melissa at TCT Crafts. You can just take a piece of paper and just basically do like a brain dump of, okay, I'm looking at this. I see red flowers, I see roses, I see stars, and just take all those individual words and use those as your SEO tags. Yes. Lauren, our girl, is going to be on there, and I think that's awesome. So Lauren Kilgore, she coaches, she has a variety of services, plus she's also an Etsy shop owner, but she is like very high in the understanding of how Etsy works. So. And she's also just a lovely person. If you're in Julie Samaco's Wreath of the Month Club, which I coach for, there's also, Lauren does, I don't know if they're guest spots or they're regular spots, but that is also a resource that you get in that group. So many resources. I'd always done the Success Circle. I had never done the Wreath of the Month, so I love seeing like all the different things that it's teaching people and providing for people. All right, so now I'm going to go back in with, I just have these two pieces of the smaller boxwood left. Okay, and I always like to have something cascading down. So I'm going to have that there. And then I'm going to repeat. I'm just going to pull off a piece because it's going to interfere with this actually going into the grapevine smoothly. Okay. And now we still have boxwood. We have two bushes. I don't even know that we're going to use the second one. Ah, thank you, Helen. So for us, it is almost 8 o'clock. Did you answer on what that holiday was? Or does somebody else know? I believe you said it was VE was the holiday. I know that yesterday in Ireland it was early bank day or something, and I don't know what that means. But it was on my calendar. So it must be really late for you because now, is it after 1 for you, Helen? I think it might be. You might be a night owl too. All right, so I'm going to use this boxwood and use it as like a nice filler. So anywhere that I see the bare spots, I'm just going to go in and plug this in. And it's nice and airy and fluffy. And again, you're using 3 different types of greenery. So if you're somebody who's also like struggling to figure out what greenery goes with what, this is all yellow-based greenery, all the greenery that we've used. Versus if you're using lamb's ear or, you know, that grayish eucalyptus, those are blue-based. So for this, you know, typically I like to keep everything in the same family. So this is our yellow-based greenery. I think I'm going to use a little bit of the second bush. And I do feel like this might be the one that's less than $3. And for what you need for one, you know, you could get like a larger bush somewhere else. But as far as when you're making your wreath, if you have a good like 3 to 4 inch stem, you really don't need to have this giant bush that is like a pusher. This is a pusher as well, but you have as much, you know, length as I think you need. Oh, it's the end of the Second World War. Oh, interesting, Helen. Thank you. Getting some European education here. And I am here for it. All right, and then I want to make sure that under our bow is also taken care of. There's 2 benefits to this. One is, again, if the bow should shift, you don't want it to be bare under there, but also it's going to support that bow. You don't want all of the loops kind of getting caved in or getting swallowed up by our florals. Put a few underneath without getting it on my bow. And our last piece of ruscus, you can kind of see here, like this one is gone, is making more of a corner. So I'm going to do something and add this just to balance it off. Of course, even when we're doing things in steps, things can start to shift. So it's important to just take a step back and take a good look at where your design is at and see where it needs correcting. Okay, so let's see. In addition to like all that we already have, which honestly, we still have a sign to do. Maybe I went too far with this kit. I don't know. More is more, but you can definitely probably use, probably, if you wanted to, you could use less materials and stretch out these materials. So especially at a time where, you know, maybe we're a little bit more cautious about how much money we're investing in the materials so that we can keep, you know, our prices at a certain point. There is a lot to be found in this kit. Okay, so this is the gypsum. We have used this before and I'm very, very impressed with it. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. So I'm just going to start to just kind of disperse this throughout. I don't want to use too much just because we have a bunch of white already going on. But I do appreciate the texture of it. And I wasn't expecting these white pieces in that zinnia bush, so we ended up with more than I thought we were going to have. Right, so I'm just going to use one more piece. So So does anybody have any questions as we're going? If so, ask away. Happy to answer. Put some back here. Just so airy. All right, and let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these aside. I'm not gonna just use them just to use them. So we still have these, which I love. Again, very reminiscent of being a kid. In North Andover, you would, I feel like I used to even take my big wheel down. That's how small I was. Everybody would go down and there would be all sorts of booths set up with, you know, you'd wear your jelly shoes, you get a jelly bracelet, you would get all sorts of like, you know, fried dough, all of that like goodness. It was just such a fun day. And so that's like my favorite memory about 4th of July. It wasn't even the fireworks, it was what happened during the day. All right, so we have 2 of these. And I'm gonna just break these apart. You could absolutely just put them in as is. I like to just have a little bit more control and just get the most out of my materials. So I'm gonna just separate these. But either way would be fine. Hey Connie, how are you? Miss you, my friend. All right, so I do want to just match up because I cut those like willy-nilly. I just want to make sure I'm using the same pieces so they have the same balance. All right. And we're going to start in, let's start with the red on top. You guessed it, our top corner, muscle memory, little workout. If you know, you know. I want these to just get like that attention that they deserve. So I'm gonna repeat that down below. Connie, I'm all out of those grape hydrangea today, and I was like searching for them. I got an order and I filled it, and then they needed a second one, and I was like, oh no! I thought I was gonna have to pull a design apart. And then I looked in like the most random spot and there were 3 of them and that's all I needed. So St. Anthony is constantly hooking me up before I even ask a lot of the time. It was amazing because I was like really not wanting to have to pull a listing apart, but I also wanted to fill that order. All right, so we have 1 there. I definitely want 1 trailing off the ends. Trying to be conservative about ordering, and so I just did do a Pioneer order, but it was pretty much all greenery. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I wish I had ordered some of that grape hydrangea. All right, I love how that's just hanging there. Oh, Connie, I'm sorry. I'm so glad your mom got to see her, but I know your family has just been through it. Sending prayers. I mean, between weather things and other things. I know you've just been dealing with a lot, so I'm so sorry. I am glad your mom got to see her sister, though. It's one of those things that you would never want to miss the opportunity to be able to say goodbye. All right, let's see here. These stars remind me of like The More You Know. If you were like a kid in the 80s and you watched TV, it's the vibe it's giving me. Ooh, are you liking the blue? Awesome, Diane. Well, Diane, I am going to take a step back. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. A true cobalt blue. Which is why, like, I did, like, the other flowers are beautiful on that bush, but they are not, like, they don't match this vibe. This matches it. And we have a sign. So, the first time I presented this kit, I basically, you know, I probably put TMI Gifts in a bit of a frenzy because I said there was no sign. I did look after, and I still didn't see it. And then the next day I messaged, and they said, like, could you check again? And when I checked again, this sign, because it's so thin, it was just slid on the side of the, I mean, it wasn't slid, it's not like it was hidden, but it just fit right in like the nook of the side of the box. And so I missed it. So I, not only did I not present it, but I also like basically said, there's no sign here, where is it? I'm sure I had people looking for a sign. That was exactly what it was supposed to be, it was with me. All right, so this sign already has holes punched in it. I'm going to use black zip ties. Whenever you can, you want to use a zip tie that's closest to the color of the sign. To me, black is the best I have. I don't have any red ones. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn this for a second. Okay. This just shows you like how full this entire wreath is. So I'm just going to start with my first zip tie. And let's see. And especially when you're using two, I never tighten either one until I know that we're in a good position. And if you do it and you find it's just not sitting right, don't force it. Just snip it and start over. Okay, so I know where I want this to land. So let's see. I want to make sure like this can be moved, so I don't want the sign covered up at all. All right, so I've loosely zip tied the top. Now I'm going to loosely, zip tie the bottom. I'm just going to try and like hide the zip tie as much as I can anyways. Let's see. Which way would be best? I'm going to go tail first for this. And then I like to just try and feed the zip tie through the grapevine. Again, just to kind of conceal it. If you can't do it, it's okay if you just wrap it all the way around the grapevine frame. Whatever's going to make the sign sit the way it's supposed to. It's just sitting awkward for me. I mean, I'm sure they make red zip ties. Them in a lot of colors, but not red. Just trying to get this through. So Connie, does your mom design with you? Like, does she get to enjoy that time doing what you do? I feel like it could be a nice outlet when, I mean, like it's a therapeutic outlet, I think. This is giving me the business. Hang on one sec, guys. Not sure if this is even long enough. Let's see. It should be, but this part that I'm going through is very thick. Goodness. All right, this is let me see if I have. I'm gonna double up my zip ties. See if I can keep this hidden anyways. All right, yeah, I'm going around. There's no way through here. Just making sure that the two zip tie heads are not showing. Tighten here once, tighten here twice. And now up top, I can go ahead and tighten because I know that's in the right spot. Okay. And then I'm going to snip my zip ties. Across the inside. Is it that you want, like, you could remove the cross and then put it back in, because there are certain wreaths that I feel like you can just kind of transform if there's pieces that you move in and move out. Is this your personal wreath? Because Helen, I think I would figure out a way, if you're, especially if you're a wreath maker and you have like all of those things at your disposal, I would just find a way to like safely remove it and then put it back on each year. Same thing with bows and signs. You can just keep transforming the same wreath. Like, we did an exercise last week. It was in Wreath of the Month Club, where basically I took an Easter wreath and I removed the Easter elements and spun it into, you know, your spring everyday wreath so that you could still use it. You know, I don't really want an Easter wreath to sit in my shop for an entire year. It's not going to necessarily help me. Not that there's a problem with that. Like, there's Christmas wreaths, fall wreaths in my shop, but for this, I felt like it was definitely something that you could transform very easily. So I would say, yes, I would pull the cross out and then just store it safely and put it back in year after year. All right, so I'm just going to take a little step back. And I see a few spots I could use a little bit of greenery. This is a very, very full wreath. I'm very happy with it. When I sit down to make these kits, because, you know, I know I need a lot of stuff, and I never want to make a kit that doesn't have enough. Like, I don't want people to buy something and then find out that, oh, you need to add to it. So I always want to make sure it has enough stuff, and this definitely has more than enough materials. Again, I think you could pull off 2 wreaths with it if you wanted to. The sign's fantastic. I love all these ribbons, all of them. I mean, the red, white, and blue, the star-spangled one's by far my favorite. And then these guys are just so pretty. Like, they're not tacky, they're glittery, but they're great quality, which, you know, you don't always find hand in hand. So I'm putting a little bit of greenery here. That is covering up our bottom part where the zip tie is. And then, let me actually pull this out. I'm going to reposition this because I wanted to do the same thing and cover up that zip tie. I don't want it to block the sign. Okay, yes. And then let's use a little bit more of our gypsum because we have it. Mirror that. And here is our star of the show. This girl. Definitely you could take a bow like this and just sell it on its own. Or you could have, if you wanted to make 2 listings, you could make a wreath with this on it and then also show a listing of just it on its own if you have enough to make a second one. Which with this, there's definitely, we have a lot of ribbon left. So you could, I'm pretty positive you could make at least one more, if not more. And this blue metallic, so you can use promo code CARA20 and your entire purchase is 20% off. And I will say, like, no one uses this code more than I do. I love it. And every time I get things in like this, it gives me a little bit of wreath maker anxiety. So I will be hopping back on and getting more of this blue metallic. Because it's like, it seems literally like electric to me. All right. And there she is. So let me know what you think. Again, I will link the kit. There are a few left. And I think these are perfect. There's so many different summer, months. Or also, people just use patriotic things throughout the year. So I definitely am a big fan of this kit. So as always, thank you to TMI Gifts. I love when I get the chance to work with you. Tiffany couldn't make it tonight because I got the night wrong. So I missed you, Tiffany. I hope you like the final design. And I hope you do too as well, Lori. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And I will be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.